So we're just going to talk and kind of close up, letting you know this is the first part of two parts. So next time we talk about summer and spring and upper extremity exercises and how we can keep you to be as healthy as we possibly can. So the truth about exercise and movement, and when Dr. Matt talked about prehab, I think it's a word that everybody needs to write in their mirror tomorrow, because prehab is what he talked about. The soccer players at Wausau West. The Wausau West coaches did a great job of pre-planning, prehab, talking about it, because your athletes in Wisconsin were 55% less active during COVID than they had been previously. The number of injuries across all sports were absolutely astronomical right now. So the Wausau West talked about what we can do to prevent ACL. ACL tears in elite athletes are at an epidemic proportion in elite women's athletes, soccer and that. They did a great job. They got them prehab. They talked to them. They worked the girls out. Everything they did was to say, I had an athlete that's more deconditioned than normally. They're going to play an extended season with 3 games a week. I mean, a really close season. And they did a great job of thinking about it. And they came through the season. You know, Dr. Aaron, Dr. Matt, myself, Dr. Lexi, we were sideline doctors for some of the Wausau West sports. And those teams did an amazing job of not getting our people injured. So what I'm going to talk about is the difference between exercise and movement. And so one of the things that we have to understand is, even if I go to the gym 3 times a week or 5 times a week or 6 times a week, the purpose of the gym is to build resilience to resistance. So I may go on a treadmill and I can get my cardiovascular a little better. I can lift weights so I can make my tendon muscle origins better. I can get stronger bones. I may try to prevent osteoporosis. They have an amazing, great purpose. But if I go to the gym and I think I went to the gym for an hour, so now I can watch 4 hours of Netflix. Within 2 hours of not moving, I'm right back to where I was before I worked out. In fact, I'm worse. So I have a real issue that when we go to the gym, we think that's the only thing. Exercise is different than movement. And movement is truly the lack of movement. It's what's having a massive effect on us. So Dr. James Levine, director of Mayo Clinic's Arizona State University Obesity Solutions Initiative by Mayo Clinic, and that he coined that the body functions better with moving. Sitting is more dangerous than smoking, kills more people than HIV is, and is more treacherous than parachuting. We are sitting ourselves to death. He says sitting has become the new smoking, that when we don't move, we're more likely, and I'll show you a study on cancer, but it's one of the things that are raising cancer. And people all the time ask me, man, like if I could prevent cancer, what can I do? It's movement, and movement's affordable for all of us. We do not have to sit still. We do not have to, it's an affordable thing. All of us can move in that. A great study comes out of a lot of us works called in a book, Desk Bound, talks about all the negativities of sitting and what we do. So National Cancer Institute, physical activity and cancer. What is physical activity? Physical activity is moving, and we know that what's the known about relationship between physical activity and cancer. If you go to PubMed, which is all scientific studies, and you put in movement and cancer, well over 20,000 studies will come up in the last 10 years, the relationship of cancer and movement. Have any of you heard of a cancer prevention program that people tell you to move? I mean, does anybody talk about that? It's way more important than your vegetables, your nutrition, anything. If you're not moving, you cannot use the things. And then we'll talk about rehab and that. But again, there is study after study that talks about moving in that. So the blueprint for human motion, the problem is that we no longer move how our bodies are intended to move. And no one has taught us how to move. We wait until we break down and are in pain before making real changes. We are not moving enough. We are not moving well. We are not performing basic maintenance to our bodies. So Yanda is a famous researcher, and at the time it was Czechoslovakia, but he talked about that before you feel pain, you're 7 to 9 years in dysfunction. We seem to understand that. I go into in the heart and they say, oh my gosh, you're 90% occluded, but it takes 7 to 9 years before your wrist will bother you because you're sitting at a computer. It'll take 9 to 7 years before your hip, your ankle, you walk wrong, you walk different. It takes a long time to build up. And it's a lack of proper movement. Every joint in my body has a cycle of motion that it enjoys doing. Every elbow, my shoulder. But if you think in a day, How many times do you use your joint in every range of motion? If I don't move my wrist, my elbow, my upper back, my shoulders, if I don't have a job that allows that, within 15 minutes, some of the cells start to die. So when I go from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, I don't get stiff because I get old. I get stiff because I stop moving. If I had a glass ball and I put a 5-year-old in it with paint on his hands, within minutes you wouldn't see him. I mean, he's moving everywhere. You put most of us in a glass ball with paint on our hands, you'd see us for months, maybe years. Like, we hardly move. So think about that. My wrist is supposed to go through a full range of motion every 15 minutes. My elbow is supposed to go through its full range of motion every 15 minutes. When it doesn't, the only way we get nutrition to a joint is, so if I take the tendon that you can see here in that, and I open my wrist up and you see that tendon, it's white, has no blood supply to it whatsoever. It lives by something called synovial fluid. Synovial fluid, I move my wrist, it pumps in, it pumps out, it pumps in, it pumps out. It works in that way. If you ever broke a bone, you put it in a cast, how long does it take to degenerate? Like, I have a guy now, he's 2 weeks into it. His calf is like just tiny. Like, we degenerate incredibly fast, like unbelievably fast, and we lose the ability to move. So even in young athletes, 16, 17, 18, they move 55% less over the winter, and injuries just skyrocketed. What happens to the rest of us? So we do not know how to move right. Even if I have somebody walk, if I say, okay, I want you to take a step, what you should do is when you take your step and go through, the middle of your kneecap should be right over your second toe, where they talked about the Morton's neuroma. That's where it should be. But what happens? People start to get so locked up in that, and Dr. Matt talked about dorsiflexion, the ability, so if my foot's flat, if this is on my foot, the ability of my foot to bend backwards, that's dorsiflexion. It should have 45 degrees. But because the foot gets stiff, we start to have to turn our toe out. When we turn our toe out, we roll off the inside of our ankle. So you see people start to flatten their feet out, roll off the inside, and we're meant to go, so how the foot works is it lands on the outside, my heel side, it goes to my arch side, goes off my little toe side, and then it comes off my thumb. So it goes in a figure 8 pattern. That heel, arch, toe off the big foot, that absorbs 80% of my heel strength, my foot going down on the ground. So when I get that Morton's neuroma, which we talk about, and Dr. Aaron talked about the nerve coming through here, I turn my foot out, I start walking with my toe out, I roll off, and now I'm going right down the center of my foot, and there's no fat pad here. If you look under your big toe, huge fat pad protects that nerve. No fat pad, pound, pound, pound. It swells up, causes a swelling in there, and that's that neuroma, and people are like way sore. And it's a faulty foot mechanics in that. If you can take your foot, but one of the surgical things, and they just go in there and flay that nerve, cut it up, open it, and make more space. If I don't change the mechanics, what do you think is going to happen to that nerve when I've taken all the protection away? We're going to have the same thing coming back. 3 years, same kind of problem coming back. So every joint in my body. So dance therapy, I love dance therapy. And the whole Corona thing, I have several older patients that danced once or twice a week. And the deterioration in their health is absolutely horrible with them not dancing. It can be chronic pain syndromes in that. So again, making sure that we move as much as we can. World Health Organization, the 4th biggest preventable killer globally, causing an estimated 3.2 million deaths, is lack of movement. Has anybody talked to you about that? I mean, like, it's the 4th leading killer in the world, lack of movement. And are we like talking to our kids moving all the time? Do we have like every 15-minute move in school? Are we trying? You know, most kids or most people are motion learners. Our joints have mechanoreceptors. The mechanoreceptors go up to my brain. They hit a part of my brain, in the back of my brain, called the thalamus. When it hits the thalamus, my brain says, it's time to learn, I'm moving. When I stop moving, my brain says, it's time to be afraid, something's wrong. Just like, again, if you're moving, safe, but what's the flight, fight, or freeze? When I stop moving, my body instantly thinks something's wrong. It becomes hyper vigilant about its surroundings and that. So when I take a kid, put him in a school, don't let him move, and we put all kinds of distractions around them, their brain won't work. So kids with ADHD, kids that with dyslexia, kids, they're motion learners. And if we can add motion to their lives, they learn way better. If we don't add motion to their life, what do we try to do? Slow down the flight or fight, the natural reflex, by giving them medication. They're motion learners. Early in my career, in 4th grade, we put gym balls, and we had amazing results with it. that it was hard to manage gym balls in a 4th grade class. So they took them out, even though it helped kids, like me brother. So again, how do we make sense of this and fit it in? The answer is, unless we are sleeping, we humans beings are designed to move. We evolved central nervous systems to sense changes around us and move through our environment. Our bodies are built for movement, and in turn, movement keeps our bodies healthy. It is a symbiotic relationship that has allowed our species to survive. If when we're not moving, there's a book out there, it's about motion, but our body, we used to think that it defaults when we're not moving. So all our anxiety, our depression, it's way, way better if we're moving. We have lost, and when we talk about 10,000 steps a day, every physiologist that looks at our body says we should be 6 to 12 miles. 10,000 steps is just barely touching it. We need to think about movement all the time, and we can't heal with it. So one of the things is we all start differently in that. So Dr. Matt and Dr. Lexi, Dr. Aaron, different ages, they have much more. Wherever we start, people start differently due to age, gender, weight, whatever. Each body has a different body match. Each one has a different starting point. Each body will have a different movement as well. And so we just need to find our starting point. Movement is movement. And movement can be just moving my feet, my hands, whatever we start. But nobody starts too slow and keeps moving. But lots of people start too fast and keep moving. Spring is just a horrible time. Great day, first day, somebody walked 5 miles. My body, so we talked about the synovial fluid, right? So that's the lubricant. That lubricant is 100 to 1,000 times more lubricant than if a man took Teflon in a lubricant and tried to make that friction point. It's crazy amazing what it can do. But it has 10% more ability. So if in the winter I walk a mile every day, my average movement, and then in the summer I walk 5 miles the first day, I went past the point where the lubricant can lubricate the joint, and now I get a tendonitis, I get a swollen ankle, I get something going on. So it's pace is everything. So if I haven't been active, gym balls, it paces everything. If I've been active, I can increase my pace. The unfortunate thing is, as we get older, we degenerate really faster and regenerate really slower. So we need to move all the time. We cannot, I just get so, like I ask people, so what are you gonna do this weekend? Oh, I'm gonna have a Netflix weekend. There's a new series up, 12 hours of Netflix. If every hour you sit, you lose 18.6 minutes of life. So I watched 12 hours and someone told me I'm gonna lose almost 6 hours of life. Like, how much would we at the end fight for 6 hours of life? And if every weekend I lose 6 hours of life, would that be important 52 weeks a year, and every weekend I'm losing 6 to 10 hours of life? Like, how important would that be to you? So we need to think about things totally different. Living rooms need not to be sitting rooms. They need to be movement rooms. Everything we can do. So we can add little things like, Dr. Matt talked about standing on one foot, and it's just a little board, we stand on it, and it just helps our ankle know where it is. We can use wobble boards, and we can walk on those, and we can go. These are cheap. I think of the money we spend on technology, and if I said, oh, this is $25, this is $30, I'm not sure I can afford it, but I can afford to pay $300 for some elite football, and I can watch all the sports and that, so I can sit and watch other people move by not moving. It's like, oh, I just love sports. Yeah, you need to do it. And so we need to learn. We can use almost any kind of things. We can use bands with Dr. Bat, and they're just great. They're like a gym in a pocket. We can use a mini tramp, which NASA did massive amounts of studies in the 70s when they put astronauts up in space. Osteoporosis, for proprioception, everything the doctors talked about. We can use a gym ball. We could use a wobble board. So you need to earn your technology time, and earning your technology time means I need to move while I'm doing it. If I'm going to watch TV, why should I be on a ball? If I sit still, it's destructive. I'm losing 18.6 minutes of life. If I'm on a ball, I'm gaining life. Why would I not sit in a gym ball instead of a chair? And again, I think for all of us doctors, somebody comes in, every time I sit in a couch, I can hardly get up. Well, it's that old Groucho Marx thing. When I put my hand above my head, it hurts horribly. Well, stop doing that. Lazy boy. And I had someone just the other day. I said, well, we need to stop listening. Well, yeah, but I love my lazy boy. Yeah, but you just said you can't get up on you, and your leg goes numb, and you can't feel your foot. I'm just not it's like, ooh, it's hard to put together for me in that. So there's so many things that can make you healthy in that. And think about, so when Dr. Matt and Dr. Lexi and Dr. Aaron talked about healing, so collagen, which is massive important in that. So if I injure myself, I take collagen and it's like I throw it to the floor like pieces of thread, and it lines up and it just goes like this. If I don't move collagen, it can't line up. So if you saw that video, it showed the collagen lining up. When it lines up, it becomes flexible. When it doesn't line up, it's like you have those old pot holders and you burn it and it gets a wrinkle spot in it. That wrinkle spot then can't flex anymore. So now I'm 25 years old, playing aggressive frisbee. I fall down, I get a little tweak in my shoulder. I think, like Dr. Aaron talked about, 2-3 days, it's fine. Like I don't rehab it. It takes 18 months to have that little tweak heal. So now that little scar tissue in there starts to shrink. It starts to shrink. So on the edge of this joint, I'm getting shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And now at 45, somebody comes and says, I can't lift my shoulder anymore. It's taken 20 years of shrinking to break that tissue down because I didn't move it right away. Talked about ankles. When you put an air cast on, for every hour you don't move an ankle, you increase the likelihood by 1% that you're gonna have lifetime disability. Lifetime disability. So when we see the 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds come in, they have frozen shoulder, and if I sleep at night, my arm goes numb, and if I try to get my coat on, I can't anymore, and when I walk, my feet hurt, my ankles hurt, my knees are killing me. It's lots of times of not moving. And we need to just think about, we are meant to move every part of our brain. And so what happened over COVID? We moved less and we talked less. And what did we see with anxiety? It skyrocketed. What did we see with suicide? It skyrocketed. A pediatrician said not so long ago, I don't do pediatric medicine anymore. I do emotional medicine. Like, all of our kids are beat up. In Milwaukee area, over 50% of the kids are diagnosed with some kind of learning disability. Like, we need to look at this differently and that. So again, movement is everything. Sit, stand, or move for healthier workplaces and that. Breaks in a blink. Small amount of micro breaks in that. So all day long, we have to think about, I'm just moving, I'm aiming for 35 small movements per day, ideally. 5 seconds, I'm stretching back, I'm moving my elbow. I have 35 breaks at 5 seconds apiece. We're looking at less than 3 minutes. Like 72 is 6 minutes. Like, we need to just get excited. Can you get on your feet? Workstation solutions, everything. And I don't care how ergonomically designed a workstation is, we need to move. That's what we have to do. Think about 6 miles of movement a day. I need to be in this, Dr. Matt said. I'm standing in the grocery line. I'm challenging my body. We have to challenge our body. If we don't, anxiety is a lack of stimulation. Our body is meant to give our brain a great ride every day. And when it doesn't get the ride it's expecting, it thinks it's dangerous. And if day after day of being dangerous, we have anxiety. Day after day of being dangerous, we have depression. We're either going to shut down, flight, fight, or freeze. Something's going to happen. We to shut those systems down, we have to move. So I love the tension, that recovery in that. And again, the prehab, there's just such simple things to do. I cannot stress enough. It just makes me sad when people come here years and years after degeneration. And sometimes I think we just need to, us doctors go through x-rays. I've been at this for just under 35 years now. I have never seen x-rays as degenerate in 45 to 18 than I've seen. Never, ever. We pull x-rays up with spurs and degeneration, and we have little kids. I have 80-year-olds that still can touch their toes. I've almost not had a 10-year-old or under that can touch below their knees and forever. My only kids that can still touch their toes are my homeschoolers. They're out moving. My homeschoolers are the only kids that have a suntan anymore. Like, we need to get out and move and really, really do a good job. So we need to think about movement, attention to recovery. When we do something, if I have a bad knee, I'm going to ice it. I'm going to help it get uninflamed. When we talked, we went from rice to police. Police, the biggest thing that I like in police is controlled range of motion that's comfortable. That's what Dr. Matt talked about. The minute we can move something, and then we went to peace and love, controlled ranges of motion, and when we said not taking an anti-inflammatory, because an anti-inflammatory, the over-the-counter and NSAIDs, they blind the body to healing. There's prostaglandin 1, 2, and 3, and when you block 1 and 3, the body can't. So 3 years of taking an anti-inflammatory for a knee when you go walking, it's more degenerative if you took nothing at all. Dr. Lexi, when she talked about the products here, so collagen, 4th leading product that's bought on the internet and that. But just think about it, I have a sieve, and that sieve has really, really tiny holes. And no matter how much collagen is on this side, if it can't get through those holes, it can't get to my body. You have to have collagen in a form that's small enough. You have to have glucosamine in a form that's small enough. Most of the stuff we get is way too big, so it can be, like, I can get a huge bit, but it's undigestible. You cannot digest it, so it doesn't matter. It's not going to have an effect. Can't get through it. So again, coming out with way better things. Vascular, we eat dead foods, and we are way deficient in enzymes in that. So we have to be really, really good. So why do we overinflame? Why does somebody walk and their ankle blows up? Why do they twist a little bit and something blows up? If we don't have enzymes, we can't control the inflammation. We can't control, so we're so inflammatory, it takes nothing. I mean, people tell me, yeah, I was standing on a ladder, and now my ankle's this big. We are massively inflammatory. Legaplex with Standard Process is like a multivitamin for healing, because most of us just don't eat the right things to heal. I mean, way cool stuff in that. And then Inflamablocks, just a nice way to help pain without stopping healing. I'm just going to talk about one product real quick. Is everyone's asking about allergies right now, and allergies, like whoa, like, so DHIS is our product. It has quercetin. It has a lot of cool things. It's almost instantaneous with allergies without making you tighter than that. So if you're having allergy problems, which means you're a pro-inflammatory, again, we have the product. I'm just going to end up here. So my favorite slide: exercise sometimes motivation requires. I don't know what your motivation is, what your why factor is, but it's your motivation isn't going to be. You're going to have to say, I'm 45 years old. I'm on the verge of my kids having kids. I'm whatever, and I want to be able to walk with my grandkids. I want to go fishing. I can't tell you how many people are 65 years old and they can't move anymore. Like, they think because they're balanced, like, I can't go fishing with my grandkids because I can't get in on the boat. I can't. Whoa. Like, so your why factor. What is your motivation for making sure that we go? So next time we talk, we're going to talk about the upper body and what happens when you throw a baseball or a frisbee, or you try to do something with kids, when you swing a golf club. We're going to continue everything we did. I'm going to throw a little perk here at the end here. So we showed you our products. We have lots of products that are motion products in that. If you ask a question, we're going to put your name in for a drawing, and then you will, if you are far away, we'll send it to you if you're close, but we'll send you something around motion. It might be tubing, it might be a wobble board, we'll send you something, so tell us. But if you, again, ask us a question, or if you tell us that you took this video, and you shared it on your Facebook page, we have to do something, and motion is affordable to everybody. So if you ask a question, you tell us you shared it, you give us some information, we'll put you in the drawing for, again, winning a motion product that we go with. So other than that, thank you. We'll see you in a month. It's always the third Tuesday of every month is when we give this talk. We'll see you in a month.